She never meant to tear her own family apart. All she wanted was to surprise her daughter-in-law with a dream vacation. But the moment the gift was revealed, her son's reaction turned their home into a battlefield. Before the story continues, tell us in the comments. Backhand index pointing right if someone gifted you a week-long luxury vacation. Would you accept it or hesitate? And make sure to subscribe for more unbelievable real-life stories. Karen had always seen herself as a simple woman, gentle, caring, and someone who believed deeply in family. When her son Michael married Emily, she didn't just gain a daughter-in-law, she gained a daughter she truly adored. From the very beginning, Karen noticed something everyone else ignored. Emily never rested. She worked full-time, managed the house, cared for the kids, cooked meals, cleaned endlessly, and never complained. But Karen could see the exhaustion in her eyes. One afternoon, while watching Emily fold laundry with shaking hands, Karen made a quiet decision. This girl needed a break, a real one. So for Emily's birthday, Karen booked a 7-day luxury vacation at a beach resort. Flights included, meals included, everything fully paid. And the most important part, the trip was for Emily alone, a week of peace, silence, and healing. Karen knew it was a bold choice, but she also knew Emily deserved something beautiful. The gift reveal on Emily's birthday, the whole family gathered in the living room. Laughter filled the air, candles flickered, and the kids were excited for cake. Karen handed Emily an envelope. The moment Emily opened it, her eyes widened. Her hands trembled as she read the details of the trip. Is this real?" Emily whispered, her voice cracking. Karen nodded softly. Emily broke into tears, happy, emotional tears, and hugged Karen tightly. For a moment, everything felt warm, loving, and perfect. But then Karen saw it. A dark shadow crossed Michael's face. While everyone celebrated, Michael's jaw tightened. His smile vanished. The veins in his neck pulsed with anger. "Mom," he muttered sharply, "could we talk outside?" And Karen instantly knew this wasn't going to be good. The confrontation outside, Michael's tone was cold. "Why would you send my wife on vacation alone?" he demanded. Karen blinked, genuinely confused. "She works so hard, I wanted to give her a break." "You should have asked me first," he snapped. "You're creating problems in my marriage." Karen's heart sank. "Michael, she needs rest. This isn't about you." That was the wrong sentence. Michael's face turned red. "Cancel it," he ordered. "Tell her it was a mistake." Karen stared at him, shocked. "I won't take her happiness away." With that, they re-entered the house, and the storm followed them in. Fire the explosion inside the house, Emily was still smiling, excitedly talking about beaches and sunsets. But then Michael spoke. "You're not going," he said flatly. Emily froze, everyone froze. "What, why?" she asked quietly. "It's not appropriate, the kids need you, and Mom overstepped." Emily stared at him, confused, embarrassed, devastated. Karen stepped closer. "Emily, this is your gift, your choice." A long silence filled the room. Then, trembling but brave, Emily spoke. "I'm going." Michael's face twisted with anger. He stormed out of the house and slammed the door hard enough to shake the windows. Michael didn't come home that night. He stayed with a friend. And for days, he barely spoke to Emily. Karen watched quietly, heartbroken. She never intended to cause a rift. She only wanted to give Emily something she never had, time for herself. Emily still went on the trip, but she didn't go with the same excitement she once had. She went with guilt, sadness, and confusion. Karen could only hope that somehow, her gift, meant with love, wouldn't be the reason her family shattered. Emily left for her trip 5 days later, but the silence in the house before she left was louder than any argument she had ever heard. Michael barely spoke to her. Not good morning, not do you need help, not even goodbye. Their home, once warm and noisy with children giggling and pans clattering, now felt like a museum of hurt feelings. Everything was quiet, but not peaceful. More like everyone was holding their breath. Karen watched the situation from the outside, feeling the weight of guilt pressing on her chest like a stone. She had caused this. She had caused the tension, the coldness, the unspoken blame. Every time she looked at Emily, her heart twisted. But every time she looked at Michael, something else twisted. He wasn't angry, he was controlling. Karen had never seen this side of her son. The cold stares, the passive-aggressive comments. The constant reminders that Emily should think about her responsibilities. Responsibilities. That was the word he kept throwing around like a weapon. But Emily had responsibilities to herself too, something Michael never seemed to understand. Briefcase the day Emily left on the morning of her flight, Emily packed quietly. She folded her clothes slowly, like each shirt weighed 50 pounds. Her hands trembled. Her eyes were red from crying the night before. Her two kids hugged her legs, confused about why Mommy looked so sad even though she said she was going on a fun trip. Karen stood by the doorway, wishing she could take some of Emily's pain for herself. "You don't have to go if you're not ready," she whispered. But Emily shook her head. "No, I need this," she said softly, voice cracking. "I think if I don't take this break, I'll break." Karen realized this vacation wasn't a luxury for Emily, it was a lifeline. When Emily wheeled her suitcase outside, Michael didn't even come to the front door. He stayed in his office, pretending to be busy. Emily paused on the porch, looked back one last time, hoping he'd appear. He didn't. Karen hugged her tightly. "Take this time for yourself," Karen whispered. "You deserve to breathe." Emily nodded and got into the Uber, tears silently sliding down her cheeks as the car pulled away. Karen stood there long after the car disappeared, the winter air sinking into her bones. Inside the house, Michael finally emerged from his office and muttered, "She better come back with a better attitude." Karen's heart cracked a little. Beach Emily's first days away, miles away from home, in a bright, sunny resort with the ocean stretching endlessly before her, Emily tried to let go. She really tried. She sat by the pool with a book she had meant to read months ago. She took a walk by the shoreline, letting the water tickle her feet. She even got a massage, something she had never done before. But guilt followed her like a shadow. Every time she saw a happy couple, she wondered if Michael was right. Every time she saw a mother playing with her kids, she felt a pang in her chest. Every time she checked her phone, she hoped for a message from him. There were none, not one, but there was one person who messaged her every day, Karen. "Did you have breakfast? How is the weather? Send me a picture, I bet the ocean is gorgeous." And the one message Karen sent every night, "Don't worry about anything. Just rest, everything is okay." Emily didn't know if everything was okay, but she needed to believe someone did. Broken heart back at home, Michael's anger grows. Meanwhile, at Michael's home, things were simmering. He complained to his friends. He complained to his coworkers. He complained to Karen every time she dropped by to check on the kids. "She abandoned us," he said dramatically. "As a mother, she should never have gone." Karen stared at him, stunned. "Michael, she didn't abandon you," she said gently. "She took a vacation. You're her husband, not her warden." Michael glared at her. "You caused this. You started all this mess." Karen inhaled sharply, holding back tears. She wanted to scream, she wanted to shake him. She wanted to tell him he was being cruel, selfish, immature, but she didn't. This was her son, the boy she raised, the boy who used to cry when he scraped his knee, the boy who used to hug her and say, "Mom, you're my hero." Now he couldn't even look at her without resentment. That night, Michael posted a dramatic status on Facebook. "Some people don't appreciate family, SMH. Karen saw it. Her stomach turned. He wasn't just mad. He was trying to portray himself as a victim. Water wave Emily starts to heal by the 4th day of the trip. Something changed. Emily woke up, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel exhausted. Her shoulders didn't hurt. Her head wasn't buzzing with a million tasks. She sat by the ocean with a cup of coffee, the wind brushing her hair gently. For the first time, she smiled, a real smile, not a tired one. She didn't check her phone. She didn't think about laundry or dishes or meal prep. She didn't think about Michael's cold eyes or cutting words. She thought about herself, her needs, her dreams, her happiness. She realized she had forgotten what she wanted in life because she had been too busy giving everything to everyone else. Fire a message that changes everything. On the 5th night, as Emily sat on her balcony watching the sunset, she finally received a message from Michael. It wasn't an apology, it was, "I miss you." It wasn't even, "How are you?" It was, "When are you coming back? Kids are getting annoying." Emily just stared at the screen. Her heart felt heavy. Her throat tightened. He didn't ask about her. He didn't care how she felt. He just wanted her to return to her duties. Something inside her broke a little. She typed a reply, then deleted it. Typed another, then deleted it again. Finally, she locked her phone and whispered to the empty balcony, "I'm not ready to go back." She didn't mean forever. She just meant she wasn't ready to return to the life she had left 5 days ago, the life where she felt unappreciated, unseen, and exhausted. New moon. Meanwhile, Karen gets a call back home. Karen's phone rang. It was Emily. Her voice sounded different, steadier, clearer, stronger. "Mom," she said, "I need to tell you something." And that was the moment Karen realized this vacation wasn't just a trip, it was a turning point, a shift. Something big was about to happen, something that would change all of their lives. Karen sat on the couch, her heart thumping hard against her ribs as she held the phone to her ear. She could hear the ocean behind Emily, a soft, rolling hum that should have sounded peaceful, but instead made the moment feel heavier. "Mom," Emily said softly, her voice steady but fragile, "I don't think I can go back home, at least not the same way." Corinne felt her stomach twist. What happened? She asked gently. Emily took a shaky breath, and then everything poured out, the guilt, the exhaustion, the years of feeling like her needs didn't matter, the resentment she never dared to express, the way Michael dismissed her feelings, the way he expected her to function without rest. When he said the kids are annoying and asked when I'm coming back, Emily continued, I realized he doesn't want a wife, he wants a worker, someone who keeps the house running. Corinne closed her eyes, swallowing hard. Emily's voice cracked. Mom, I think I've forgotten who I am. Those words stabbed Corinne's heart. This wasn't laziness. This wasn't a vacation issue. This was deeper. This was a cry for help. Sweetheart, Corinne said softly, listen to me. You took this trip because you needed it. Not because you're selfish. Not because you're abandoning anyone. You are a human being, not a machine. On the other line, Corinne heard a small sniffle. But what if things get worse when I go back? Emily whispered. Corinne stared at the wall, remembering her own past, her late husband, the nights she cried alone when he was distant, the years she weathered silently. She refused to let Emily suffer the way she once did. You are not going back defeated, Corinne said. You are going back stronger. And if Michael has a problem with that, then he needs to change, not you. Silence. But it wasn't nervous silence. It was thinking silence. Then Emily spoke, her voice firmer than before. I want to talk to him when I get back, a real conversation, and if he refuses to change, I don't know what happens next. Corinne didn't push. She simply whispered, I will stand by you, no matter what. Cloud meanwhile back home. Trouble brews while Emily was finding clarity, Michael was sinking deeper into anger, and in a very public way. He complained at work. He complained to neighbors. He even complained to the kids, saying things like, Mommy is on a trip because she doesn't care about us. Corinne overheard that one day and nearly snapped, but she held her tongue. Anger wouldn't fix this. Wisdom might. Michael even blocked Emily on WhatsApp for 24 hours because she didn't reply to his message quickly enough, even though he never messaged anything thoughtful to begin with. He paced the living room at night. He threw passive-aggressive comments at Corinne, blaming her for ruining his family. But the truth was clear. Michael wasn't angry because Emily left. He was angry because Emily learned she could live without him for a few days. It threatened his control. It threatened his comfortable routine. He didn't want to face that truth, so he blamed everyone else. Son Emily's final days of peace in her last 2 days at the resort, Emily finally let herself breathe. She woke up slowly each morning. She watched the sunrise. She journaled things she had never said out loud. She wrote, I deserve peace. I am more than responsibilities. I want to feel appreciated. And on the last night she looked at herself in the mirror, her face looked different, not tired, not drained, soft, alive. She whispered to her reflection, I'm not going back to the old version of myself. Tornado the return home when Emily's flight landed, she felt her heartbeat racing. But she wasn't afraid, she was prepared. Corinne picked her up from the airport, hugging her tightly. You look glowing, Corinne said warmly. Emily laughed softly. For the first time in years, I feel like me. But when they reached home, the tension was so thick it felt like walking into fog. Michael stood by. Kitchen counter, arms crossed, expression cold. Emily took a breath and stepped forward, giving him a small, polite smile. Hi. Michael didn't return the smile. So you're back, he said, his tone sharp. Emily didn't shrink. She didn't apologize. Yes, I'm back, and we need to talk. Michael scoffed. Now you want to talk? Corinne quietly stepped outside, giving them privacy, but she stayed close enough to hear if things escalated. What happened next was not a conversation, it was a storm. Star Part 4, The Confrontation, tilde 1,000 words, third-person dramatic narration. Emily stood firm in the living room, hands clasped in front of her, while Michael paced angrily like a caged animal. So, Michael snapped, did you enjoy your little vacation while I handled everything alone? Emily didn't raise her voice. She didn't match his anger. Yes, she said calmly. I enjoyed it because I needed it. Michael froze mid-step. He wasn't expecting that answer. He expected guilt, tears, apologies. Instead, he got truth. Oh, you needed it, he mocked. So now you think you deserve luxury trips while I sit here stressed? Emily swallowed. I didn't ask for a luxury trip. Your mother gifted it to me out of love. And you couldn't say no, Michael shot back. Emily's eyes softened, but there was strength in them. I didn't want to say no, because I've been tired for a long time, Michael. A very long time. Michael stared at her, stunned. This wasn't the Emily he thought he controlled. Fire the argument intensifies, so that's it, Michael demanded. You're suddenly this independent woman who doesn't need me. No, Emily said gently. I still want a marriage, but I want a healthy one. Michael scoffed. This is all because of my mother. No. Emily's voice rose for the first time. Michael fell silent. Emily took a slow breath. This is because of how you treat me, because you think I am supposed to carry everything while you what? Complain that the kids are annoying. Michael clenched his jaw. I didn't mean it that way. Yes, you did, Emily replied quietly. And that message, it wasn't about missing me. It wasn't about wishing I was okay. It was about you wanting things back to normal. So what? Michael snapped. Is it a crime to want my wife back? Back, Emily repeated, her voice trembling. Back to cooking, cleaning, taking care of everything while you barely help. Back to being exhausted every day. Michael's silence was telling. He knew she was right, he just didn't want to admit it. Cloud the breaking point, Emily lowered her voice. I'm not saying this to fight, I'm saying this because I want us to fix our marriage. Michael's eyebrows furrowed. Fix, he repeated. So you think it's broken? Emily nodded slowly, painfully. Yes, Michael, it's broken, I'm not happy, and I haven't been for a long time. Michael inhaled sharply, as if someone punched the air out of him. No, he whispered. Oh, you're doing this because of her. Emily stepped closer. Stop blaming your mother, she said gently. She has nothing to do with what we've been ignoring for years. Michael shook his head violently. She manipulated you, she put ideas in your head, Michael, Emily interrupted softly, your mom saved me. The room went silent, dead silent. What? He whispered. Emily swallowed hard. If she didn't give me that break, I think I would have broken down, I think I would have shut down completely. Michael's face went pale. He wasn't ready to hear that his wife was struggling so severely. He wasn't ready to hear that he didn't notice. Droplet the unexpected softening for the first time in weeks. Michael's anger cracked. His shoulders slumped. His eyes dropped. His voice softened barely. Why didn't you tell me you felt this bad? Emily looked down. Because every time I tried, you brushed it off. You joked. You minimized it. Or you told me to stop overreacting. Michael swallowed, shame creeping across his face. I didn't know, he whispered. Emily nodded sadly. And that's the problem. A tear slid down her cheek. Not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet release of years of hurt. Michael took a step toward her. Emily, I don't want to lose you. She looked up at him, eyes full of pain and hope. Then help me carry the marriage, she whispered. Don't make me carry it alone. Son, the uncertain path forward, Michael didn't promise anything. He didn't magically transform that second, but his anger finally dissolved, leaving fear in its place. Fear of losing his wife. Fear of realizing he wasn't the good husband he thought he was. Fear of facing the truth. He sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. I want to fix this, but I don't know how. Emily sat beside him. We'll figure it out, together. But you have to try, Michael, you have to try. Light bulb Karen watches from afar. Karen, standing just outside the doorway, felt tears gather in her eyes. Not sadness, not guilt, relief. For the first time, Michael wasn't deflecting. And Emily was finally standing up for herself. Maybe, just maybe, this was the turning point. But Karen also knew something else. This wasn't the end of the storm. This was only the beginning of the real rebuilding. For the next few days after the confrontation, the house shifted into an unfamiliar calm. Wasn't peaceful, it was cautious. Michael tried to be kinder. He helped with the kids. He washed dishes without being asked. He cooked breakfast once, though he burned the eggs and laughed awkwardly. Emily appreciated the effort, but she also felt the tension under the surface, like a storm waiting for one wrong word to break loose. Karen watched closely, offering support from the sidelines but careful not to intrude. She visited the kids, brought groceries, and left quietly before Michael's mood could turn. But healing wasn't simple. Some days, Michael was gentle and apologetic. Other days, he was cold and distant, acting as if Emily had insulted him by needing rest, as if her exhaustion was a personal attack on his ego. Emily couldn't tell which version of him she would face each morning. Crescent moon, a night of honest reflection one night, Karen invited Emily over for dinner while Michael worked late. Emily sat at the table quietly, swirling her fork through mashed potatoes. Karen watched her closely. You're thinking hard, Karen said softly. Emily sighed. I'm scared, she admitted. Of Michael? Karen asked, leaning forward. Emily shook her head slowly. Of the truth, she whispered. I don't know if we're healing or just pretending we are. Karen felt a tug in her chest. Emily continued. He's trying, but everything feels like a performance. Like he's doing chores because he thinks he'll get a gold star, not because he understands why it hurt me. That's because change takes time, Karen replied. But effort is the first step. Emily nodded, but her eyes were heavy. My fear is once things seem normal again, he'll slip back into old habits, and I'll be right back where I started, tired, unseen, and drowning. Karen reached across the table and gently held her hand. "You're not alone," she said firmly. "And you never will be again, I promise." A tear slid down Emily's cheek, not from sadness, but from relief. For the first time, she felt understood. Speech ballooned Michael's confession later that night. When Emily came home, Michael was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the dark TV screen. He didn't turn when she walked in. Emily hesitated, then sat beside him. "You okay?" she asked softly. He nodded, but his eyes stayed distant. "Emily," he started, voice tightening, "I realized something." She turned toward him, waiting. "I think I was jealous of you." Emily blinked. "Jealous of what?" Michael sighed deeply, rubbing his forehead. "You got to escape, you got to relax, you got to breathe, and I stayed here feeling useless, feeling left behind." His voice cracked, not out of anger, but vulnerability. "I felt like you didn't need me anymore, like you left because you're happier without me." Emily's heart softened, but she didn't let sympathy override truth. "I left because I needed a break from exhaustion, not from you," she said gently. "But the fact that you took it so personally." "That's what scares me." Michael swallowed hard. "I know, and I'm trying to understand, I really am." Emily nodded slowly. "That's all I'm asking, for understanding, not perfection, not control." Michael leaned back, his eyes glistening slightly. "I don't want to lose you." "You won't," Emily said softly, "unless you stop trying." Those words landed like a fragile warning, honest, painful, and necessary. Son, a small step forward over the next week, subtle changes began to appear. Michael listened more. He snapped less. He asked Emily how she felt and actually waited for the answer. They went on a small family picnic. They cooked dinner together. They talked about their past, the good memories they had forgotten. Emily found small sparks of hope returning, but she also knew something. Hope was not enough. Lasting change required consistency, and consistency was something Michael had always struggled with. Cloud a hidden challenge one evening. While Michael showered, Emily noticed his phone vibrating repeatedly on the table. The screen lit up with messages from his friend Ryan. She didn't mean to snoopy, but one notification preview caught her eye. "Bro, you let her control you now, just go back to how things were." Emily's stomach dropped. There were more. "Women act up when you give them too much freedom. You're being soft, she'll walk all over you. Don't fall for her drama." Emily's hands trembled. This wasn't just about Michael. This was about the influence feeding his worst behaviors. She placed the phone back just as Michael walked out of the bathroom, smiling. Emily smiled back, but something inside her shifted. Healing wasn't just about them anymore. It was about the toxic voices around them. And Emily knew she couldn't stand by silently anymore. Something needed to be confronted directly. And that moment would come sooner than she expected. The next morning, Emily woke up with a heavy feeling in her chest. She kept replaying those messages from Ryan, every dismissive word stinging like a bee. She didn't want to bring it up immediately. She wanted to be calm, measured, clear. But life didn't give her the time. That afternoon, Michael invited Ryan over. Emily's heart dropped when she heard his voice in the living room, loud, arrogant, confident. "Bro, finally, I thought your wife had you chained to the kitchen or something." Michael laughed awkwardly. Emily froze halfway down the stairs. That laugh, it wasn't the softened version she had seen the last week. It was the old Michael, the one who hid insecurities behind jokes, the one who performed masculinity instead of living reality. Emily took a deep breath and walked into the living room. Ryan smirked when he saw her. "Oh look, the queen is here," he said, tone dripping with sarcasm. Michael winced. Emily didn't react emotionally. She had spent too long being silent. Now she needed strength. She sat down calmly. "Nice to see you, Ryan." Yeah, he said, shrugging. "So how was your little holiday? Must be nice to run away when you feel like it." Michael's face went red, but he said nothing. Emily felt a cold wave of disappointment. She turned to Ryan. "It wasn't a holiday. It was a mental break I desperately needed." Ryan scoffed. "Whatever you want to call it, all I know is a wife shouldn't leave her family like that. Michael was right to be mad." Emily looked at Michael, searching for support, but he avoided her gaze. Something snapped inside her. Fire Emily stands up. She leaned forward, her voice firm but respectful. "Ryan, you are not part of this marriage. You don't get to define what I should or shouldn't do." Ryan raised an eyebrow, amused. "Oh, so now she's talking back." Emily didn't flinch. "You call it talking back. I call it communicating like an adult." Michael swallowed nervously, watching the tension rise. Ryan fired back. "We're just trying to help him not get walked over. Women who take too much freedom." Emily cut him off sharply. "Freedom? You mean rest, self-care, mental peace." Ryan rolled his eyes. "You're making excuses. This generation of wives." Emily raised her hand. Stop, I'm not having this conversation with you, I'm having it with my husband. She turned to Michael gently but powerfully. Michael, do you believe what Ryan is saying? Michael's eyes widened. The room fell silent. Ryan smirked, waiting for confirmation. But Emily's stare was unwavering, not angry, but searching for truth. Well, she asked softly. Bomb Michael's breaking moment. Michael swallowed. He wiped his hands on his jeans. He looked at the ground, then at Ryan, then finally at Emily. And something inside him broke open. No, he said quietly. Ryan froze. What? Michael continued, voice shaky but honest. No, I don't agree with you. Ryan let out a mocking laugh. Bro, don't be stupid. Stop, Michael said, louder this time. I'm serious, I don't agree. Emily felt her breath catch. Michael stood up slowly. What Emily needed was not freedom, it was help, and support, something I didn't give her. Ryan blinked, confused. He wasn't expecting this. And you telling me she's walking over me, or manipulating me? That's not helping, that's just feeding my ego and making me a worse husband. Ryan scoffed. So you're choosing her side. Michael took a deep breath. I'm choosing my marriage. A long, thick silence filled the room. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Wow, so you're whipped now? Michael stepped closer, voice low but firm. No, I'm growing up. That was it. Ryan grabbed his jacket, muttered something under his breath, and stormed out. The door slammed behind him. Cloud after the storm, the room felt lighter, like a toxic fog had finally cleared, but Michael looked shaken. Emily stepped closer. Thank you, she whispered. Not for choosing me, but for choosing the truth. Michael's shoulders relaxed. I didn't realize how much Ryan influenced me, he admitted. I let his opinions guide my insecurities. Emily gently touched his hand. And now, Michael looked into her eyes, now I want to guide myself. Those words, simple but deep, warmed Emily's heart. For the first time, she felt hope blooming again. Not fragile hope, not temporary hope, real hope. Rainbow Karen learns the truth later that evening. Michael told Karen everything. The messages. The confrontation. The moment he stood up for his marriage. Karen listened silently, then hugged him tightly. Son, she whispered, that's the first time I've seen you act like the man Emily needs. Michael's throat tightened, not from sadness, but from transformation. Sparkles a new beginning the next morning. Emily woke up to see Michael making breakfast, not awkwardly, not performatively, but with genuine intention. He smiled at her. Let's start over, he said, as partners. Emily smiled back. Maybe healing was possible after all. Maybe the vacation wasn't a mistake. Maybe it saved everything. For a few weeks, life in the household shifted into something that almost resembled harmony. Michael was truly trying. He cooked dinner twice a week. He helped with the kids' homework. He started going to bed earlier so he could wake up with Emily instead of sleeping through the morning chaos. For the first time in years, they ate breakfast together, all four of them, without rushing or tension. Emily felt the changes. Karen noticed them too. And Michael, he actually seemed calmer. But healing wasn't a straight line. And change, even good change, comes with growing pains. Leaf fluttering in wind. Michael tries to understand Emily one evening after putting the kids to bed. Michael sat beside Emily on the couch. Can I ask you something? He began, voice unusually soft. Emily nodded. During your vacation, what did you think about the most? Emily looked at the ceiling for a moment. The question wasn't simple. I thought about rest, she admitted, and about how much I missed myself. Michael frowned slightly. What do you mean? Emily took a deep breath. I've been a wife for 8 years, a mom for 6, but somewhere along the way, Emily, the woman, disappeared. Everything became about duties, schedules, tasks, being useful instead of being happy. Michael's face fell. I didn't realize it was that bad, he murmured. Emily smiled sadly. You didn't realize because I never let myself say it out loud. Her voice softened. And that's why I needed that week alone, to see who I was without constant responsibilities. Michael nodded slowly. I'm sorry, I didn't notice, I should have. Emily reached for his hand. Not noticing wasn't the problem, refusing to see the signs that was. Michael swallowed hard, guilt washing over him. I don't want to be that person anymore. Emily squeezed his hand gently. Then keep choosing growth, Michael. Not perfection, just growth. Broken heart, the first slip a few days later, life tested them. It was a Sunday morning. The kids spilled cereal all over the kitchen floor. The dog tracked mud across the carpet. The house smelled like burnt toast. Michael grew irritated. He always did when mornings became chaotic. But this time, instead of helping, he muttered, Why does this place always look like a war zone? Emily froze. It was the old tone, the old frustration, the old judgment. Karen, who had come by to drop off groceries, stiffened too. Emily quietly started cleaning the mess with the kids. Michael didn't notice the tightness in her shoulders or the sadness in her eyes until Karen approached him. "Michael," she said in a low voice, "you're slipping." He sighed heavily. "I didn't mean it like that. I was just frustrated." Karen crossed her arms gently. "Frustration isn't an excuse to hurt the people you love." Michael glanced at Emily, who was wiping the floor silently. Guilt gripped him like a fist. He walked toward her slowly. "Emily, I'm sorry," he said softly. She looked up, surprised. "I didn't realize I sounded like I used to," he admitted. Emily exhaled deeply, not angrily, but tired. "I know you're trying, but these moments matter, Michael. Words stick." Michael knelt beside her. "I will do better, I promise." She searched his eyes and saw sincerity. This was growth, not perfect, but real. Sun behind rain cloud Michael's first real breakdown that night. Emily found Michael sitting on their bedroom floor, head in his hands. "Michael," she whispered, kneeling beside him. He looked up, eyes red. "It's hard," he admitted, "trying to change everything at once." Emily brushed his hair gently. "You don't have to change everything at once. You just have to keep trying." Michael rested his head on her shoulder. "I'm scared I'll become who I used to be." Emily held him. "And I'm scared we'll never grow, but fear means you care, and caring means we have something to fight for." He nodded slowly. "I want this marriage, I want our family, I want us." Emily smiled faintly. "Then we keep going, one day at a time." Michael leaned in and kissed her forehead. "I love you," he whispered. It was the first time he said it in months. Emily closed her eyes. "I love you too." But love alone wouldn't fix the past. Consistency would, and that was still a long road ahead. Just when things began stabilizing, something unexpected happened. Emily received a call from an unknown number. "Hello," she answered cautiously. A woman's voice responded. "Hi, is this Emily? I'm calling because I think you should know something about your husband." Emily's heart stopped. Envelope with arrow, a message from the past. The woman introduced herself as Janelle, someone who used to work with Michael years ago. "I know this is sudden," she said nervously, "but I've been following what you posted on Facebook about mental health and rest, and I felt guilty." Emily wasn't sure whether to be scared or curious. "Guilty about what?" she asked carefully. Janelle hesitated before speaking. "Michael used to complain about you a lot at work. He told people you were lazy, that you did nothing at home, that he handled everything." Emily went silent, her heart cracked. It wasn't just Ryan. Michael had created that narrative long before. Janelle continued. "He said you were dramatic, always tired and difficult. Many of us believed him, but seeing your recent posts, I realize he was wrong, and I'm sorry." Emily held the phone tightly. "Why are you telling me this now?" Janelle's voice softened. "Because he lied about you, and you deserve to know how much he undervalued." Emily thanked her quietly and ended the call. She sat on the couch, numb, shaky, heartbroken. This wasn't new pain. This was old pain returning with a new face. Collision. Emily confronts the truth that evening. When Michael came home, Emily didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply looked at him with tired eyes. "Michael, we need to talk." He froze. "I got a call today," she said calmly, "from someone who used to work with you." Michael's face drained of color. "Emily, whatever she said, you told people I was lazy." Emily asked quietly. "That I did nothing, that you carried everything." Michael swallowed hard. "I was stressed. I didn't mean—" "Don't lie," Emily whispered. "You said those things because you believed them." Michael covered his face with his hands. "I was stupid. I was immature. I was venting without thinking." Emily shook her head slowly. "No, Michael, you were shaping how people saw me. You made me the villain in your story." His shoulders trembled. "I'm sorry," he said, voice cracking. "I'm not that man anymore. Please believe that." Emily turned away, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. "I want to believe that," she whispered. "But every time I find a new wound from the past, it gets harder." Michael stepped forward, voice breaking. "Emily, please don't give up on us." She wiped her tears. "I'm not giving up, but I'm not healed either." Silence filled the room, heavy, emotional, raw. Fog the hardest conversation, yet Emily sat on the couch, hugging her knees. Michael knelt in front of her. "I hurt you," he whispered. "Not just recently, for years, and I can't undo that." "No," Emily said softly, "you can't." "But I can spend the rest of my life making it right," Michael added. Emily looked into his eyes, searching, looking for truth, looking for genuine remorse, and she saw it, maybe for the first time in a long time. "You will need to earn back the trust you broke," she whispered, "and it won't happen quickly." Michael nodded firmly. "I know, and I'm ready." Emily let out a shaky breath. "I want us to work, but Michael, we need help, real help, therapy, counseling, something outside this house." Michael froze, not defensive, not angry, just quiet. Then he nodded again. "I'll go," he said. Whatever it takes. Emily closed her eyes, finally allowing herself to feel hope again, not blind hope, but grounded hope. This is our chance, she whispered. To rebuild. Michael took her hand gently. And I'm not wasting it. The decision to attend counseling wasn't easy, especially for Michael. He grew up in a family where emotions were swallowed, not spoken, where apologies were rare and vulnerability was treated like weakness. But for the first time in his adult life, he chose differently. Because losing Emily scared him more than confronting himself. Their first counseling session on a chilly Tuesday morning, Emily and Michael walked into the therapist's office. Emily looked tense, arms wrapped around herself. Michael looked nervous enough to run. The counselor, a warm woman named Dr. Harper, welcomed them with gentle eyes. Let's start with why you're here, she said. Emily hesitated, then spoke softly. Because we love each other, but our foundation is cracked. Michael nodded slowly. And I caused most of the cracks. Dr. Harper listened carefully. For the next hour, words poured out not accusations, but truths. Emily talked about exhaustion, feeling invisible, losing her identity. Michael talked about fear, insecurity, pressure, and the shadow of expectations placed on him since childhood. At one point, Michael's voice broke entirely. I didn't realize I was repeating the same behavior my father used on my mother. I hated seeing it as a kid, but I didn't realize I became it. Emily's heart softened painfully. Awareness. This was new, and it mattered. Healing begins with honesty. Over the next few weeks, counseling became a safe space. They discussed communication, respect, emotional labor, shared responsibilities, triggers, boundaries. Michael finally understood that helping around the house wasn't doing her a favor, it was partnership. Emily learned that silence wasn't strength, speaking up was. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, their marriage began to breathe again. Some days were easier, some days were hard. But every session peeled back another layer. Every tear shed cleaned another wound, and every small breakthrough stitched something torn. One particular session changed everything. During their fifth session, Dr. Harper asked a question that froze the air in the room. What do you admire most about each other? Michael blinked. Emily looked surprised. Emily spoke first, voice trembling. I admire Michael's heart. When he loves deeply, and he's a good father, a gentle one. I just wish he showed that gentleness to me more often. Michael swallowed hard. And I admire Emily's strength, he said. She keeps going even when she's breaking. She gives everything even when she has nothing left. I didn't realize how much she carried because she carried it so silently. Dr. Harper smiled knowingly. This is the love you're fighting for, don't forget it. Emily and Michael looked at each other with new eyes. Not perfect eyes, not naive eyes, honest eyes. The conversation that needed to happen after their appointment, they sat together in the parked car. Emily turned to him. There's something I need to ask, she said softly. Not to hurt you, but to understand. Michael nodded. Why did you tell people I was lazy? Why did you paint me like a burden? His face fell. He rubbed his forehead, ashamed. I was insecure, he whispered. I felt like you were better than me. You handled everything, the kids, the house, life, and instead of helping. I resented that you could handle so much. Emily felt her eyes sting. So you tore me down to feel equal, she said quietly. Michael closed his eyes. Yes, he admitted. And it was wrong, so wrong. Emily reached for his hand. Thank you for telling the truth. He squeezed her hand gently, a silent promise. Life at home slowly blossoms again. Weeks turned into months, and the atmosphere inside their home transformed. Michael became more patient, more aware, more involved. He apologized when he slipped without excuses. He asked Emily how he could help. He played with the kids more. He initiated movie nights. He even learned to cook 3 dishes without burning anything. Emily began to smile again, not the polite smile she wore for years, but real, quiet joy. She started journaling again. She took evening walks alone. She bought a sketchbook and began drawing, something she loved before motherhood swallowed her identity. Karen watched all this with a heart full of gratitude. She saw Emily blooming. She saw Michael growing. She saw their home healing brick by brick. One evening, Karen hugged Michael tightly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Michael's eyes softened. I'm still learning, he said. And that, Karen replied, is why I'm proud. A new surprise, but this time, together on Emily's next birthday, a full year after the trip that started everything, Michael handed her a small envelope. Emily's breath hitched. Karen, standing nearby, held her breath too. Emily opened it carefully. Inside was a ticket, not one, 3. A family weekend getaway, nothing extravagant, nothing extreme, just a small beach town 3 hours away. Michael smiled shyly. This time we go together, as a family, as partners, as teammates. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She wrapped her arms around him, whispering, "Thank you for choosing growth again and again." Michael kissed the side of her head. "And thank you," he replied softly, "for not giving up on us." Corinne's final reflection later that night, as Emily and Michael played with the kids, Corinne stood in the doorway watching them with quiet warmth. A year ago, she had feared she'd broken this family. She worried her gift had caused more harm than good. But now, she saw something different. She saw a stronger marriage, a happier mother, a kinder father, a safer home. Her gift hadn't destroyed anything. It had revealed the cracks and forced everyone to rebuild stronger. She whispered to herself, "Sometimes, love is not in fixing things for people. It's giving them the moment they need to see what's broken." And as laughter filled the house, Corinne knew the truth. Her daughter-in-law didn't just get a vacation. She got her life back, and her son got another chance to become the man he was always meant to be.